On my YouTube feed, something that exploded over the past week was the launch of Starbucks teddy bear glass cup. The way it broke the internet was this became the new Stanley Cup, I guess, where people were all excited about it. The hype was unreal, especially for limited edition versions like the Valentine's Day Stanley Cup. And suddenly, I felt like, at least in my experience, the way the Starbucks cup affected people was a little stronger because the condition in place for this one is that allegedly stores were sent a very, very, very small amount of these cups, say one per store, two, up to 6, 7 cups per store. And the whole people are camping outside in the cold for this became a thing again. And to me, trends like that are very pathetic. I try to put myself in the place of these people. What is it about these trends, micro trends, usually originating on TikTok by, I guess, formerly average people, influencers? What is it about that makes people act on these things? And evaluating the comment section of those videos was pretty fun because I agree with most people feeling outraged. We went from talking about how we're in crisis because of the government shutdown and people are not getting their benefits, some people are not getting paid, etc. There are people who are adults with bills, adult responsibilities and duties, who are somehow able to camp out overnight, miss out on sleep, having a shift the next day to take part of this limited edition Starbucks drop, despite you being able to go to Amazon and finding pretty much dupe versions of this product. In conclusion, as soon as I observed this trend and watched some of the videos, I was led to some very basic and simple conclusions. And I think we all should just take a minute to think about this objectively and at least understand your own impulses. Where do those impulses come from? Because sincerely, as someone who is pretty much impossible to impress, and I never really act on something because of an ad or a trend unless I do, and I specifically do it to make a video about it. So I feel like I'm being productive. I feel like I've done that maybe like a handful of times here where I tell you guys, hey, I saw an ad on the TV at the gym about this food that this fast food place has and I decided to try it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have found out. Just what is it like to pick at the brain of someone who's not like that versus picking at the brain of someone who is like that, someone who is susceptible to acting on trends and ads and stuff. So the first thing I could think of is that Starbucks is aware that no matter the hardship, if you make something look kind of cute for the season, for the holidays, you can count on people being willing to drop money on it, especially if you are being backed up by influencers. Because Starbucks understands that people will pay Stanley or Hydro Flask prices for a device that literally functions to serve as a liquid storage for you to have access to whenever you need it and then slurp it out, right? It wouldn't surprise me if at some point Starbucks decided to partner with Stanley, if they haven't done so already, and come out with a new Stanley Cup to revive that comatose trend of the Stanley Cup. My initial reaction was a pretty angry one because I'm thinking it's just a fucking cup, a liquid carrier, which the United States is not running out of those devices anytime soon. We have a lot of options for liquid storage. And you can even take something that you have used already and give it a nice little rinse and reuse it. But for some reason, unless it has some logo on it or it has a certain shape and appearance, you're looking for the status symbol for the approval of it. Unless you don't have that, for some reason you feel like you're missing out on something. And on top of that, the fact that there are people who can spend and a shift's worth of time. Somehow, there are people out there who can afford to waste that time out of their homes. But what made it different this time around is that those people camping outside were camping outside for it. Maybe I will get this item. Because remember, the supply was very limited, ridiculously limited. And there are going to be people over there with the same idea as you who are going to get there before you do. And they may even tag team sitting on the line. Like, say, I can get there at 8 o'clock. I'll sit there for 3 hours, and then someone else arrives who is my friend or family. We can tag team so I can, I don't know, take a break to go to the bathroom, to go eat, or to take a nap. And then I wake up, and it's like we're switching patrol time. And some people are going to have resources that you just don't have. And that's going to make it seem unfair in your book. But the people who were trying to say cut the line or be upset at the employees, I really have a tough time being angry at the employees, because a lot of people don't understand that when you're an employee at a place, you are supposed to have privileges. You are supposed to have insider privileges that the average person simply doesn't have. If you want to have, say, advantages at Starbucks, getting Starbucks merch or anything like that, where's your job application? Those places are hiring, I promise you, especially for the holidays now that they need help. So you all want to cry that it's unfair for the employees to take advantage of those things, but then you guys also forget that these people endure a lot, and for them to stay at their job, at the very least, they should have some kind of incentive. Why not make the incentive be something like, oh, there is a merch drop that is going to be limited supply. Let's give a round to the employees so they can take advantage of it, and then give it to the general public. I think that's more Starbucks' fault. I really believe that Starbucks should gift those items to employees and then open it up to the public. Because for you to be a worker, and on top of being a worker, you have to compete against a stampede of regular customers, I think that's a very ungrateful thing to do to a worker. So in a sense, I was never bothered by the news of how employees were making people upset because those other people decided to camp out and they lost to the employees. I'm not bothered by that at all. Again, these employees earned the privilege of getting their hands on those things because they are actually committed to the company. And like I said, I think the first person to blame, the first entity to blame there is Starbucks. I think they need to have a plan for employees. But since they didn't, I think you also have to remember that these employees are also customers. And it should be a perk, a privilege of you being an employee to be able to indulge in that merch. And as far as I know, the employees are not getting the merch for free. They have to pay for it just like you do. Just to give you my opinion on that, I think that companies need to do better about taking employees into consideration, because your employees deserve it. But a lot of the time, I feel like you all want for the employees to satisfy the customer and make the customer the center of the universe. But then what about your employees who make all of that mess possible in the first place? So I'm never going to be mad at the employees. I will be mad at the employees, though, who get around to those items, but then they start bragging about it. Like, hee, look at me, I got that bear cub that y'all are crying about. I think that is a little stupid. I think it's a immature tactic. Don't try to provoke jealousy on other people, because I don't think that's right. Just because you had the advantage of getting to this item that you deserve to get around to it, I think you shouldn't try to take that as an opportunity to humiliate the other customers. But I will say that the one thing that I want to kind of criticize people about is you make the conscious, voluntary decision to camp outside for this item. That's you doing this. Just because you did those sacrifices, just because you committed like that to discomfort, the weather, enduring other people's attitudes who were standing in the line along with you, you shouldn't feel entitled to getting a cup just because you did all that. There was a guy talking about how his girlfriend is pregnant, therefore he should be having the privilege of getting around to one of them and all that. I don't care. I don't see how you should be granted that privilege, because what about the people who are disabled who can't make it to standing on the line? What about the people who don't have transportation to make it to that place? Yeah, I will use whataboutisms because I really don't like it when people try to pull out a card about how they should be granted an advantage, a privilege for something. And again, if you decided that your values were this, in my opinion, messed up to where you value sacrificing yourself like that to get your hands on a cup, whether you're trying to resell it, stupidly inflated, or whether you truly intend to have this as your new favorite thing, that is a you problem. That is a problem of your values. So if your values force you to work extra hours, lose sleep, endure the elements, endure other people's attitudes, suffer from scarcity, then that is a you problem exclusively, period. Nobody can convince me otherwise when it comes to that. And finally, when I try to think about explaining such a thing, what leads to people being trapped in this microtrends, the most objective, sincere opinion and conclusion I can draw, again, as someone who does not suffer from this, from being trapped by trends, I think the matter is really simple. People don't get to achieve their goals anymore because the resources to do so seem inaccessible. For instance, let's say that you have health problems. Making it to having your issues checked is very discouraging because of how expensive it is. Making it to having an education is very daunting and a miserable experience because you walk out of there with a ton of debt. Say, owning a vehicle, owning a home, same thing. You are in this perpetual cycle of debt, owing something, owing somebody your entire life. So these microtrends, I see it as, first of all, stupid pathetic, but as pathetic as they are, I feel like they activate your predator to prey instinct, in which you feel like a predator trying to pounce on your prey, and the prey that you're pouncing on is these items that you allow to impress you. Say, this cup in this instance, or the newest iPhone. That prey that you want to claw on, that instinct is activated within you because you don't really have another avenue that is healthy for you. I don't think you have developed that or established that. And because we have that instinct, because we are animals, fulfilling this goal feels like a triumph symbol because you're also competing against other people who are in this mob just like you are. And that's why I was criticizing a moment ago the employees, for instance, who took this as an opportunity to brag that they got their hands on this cup. And that also goes for the regular customers who got their hands on this cup and they also decided to brag like that or celebrate the fact that they got something limited edition. That status symbol, that triumph symbol. So I think the most important thing that could come out of this is self-evaluation. Determine what it is that keeps you depressed and frustrated, to where a trend like this impresses you so much that it literally changes your chemical reactions going on in your body. Because I really think that there is something deeper to this. Are you looking for approval from people online? Are you looking for monetization? Are you looking for fame? Are you looking for that satisfaction of how, because you really don't have anything else going on for you, you feel hopeless, but participating in a thing like this for the week that it lasts, it really has this much of an effect on you. Just try to figure out why that is the case. The reason I try to put it like that and declare it from a negative perspective as opposed to just I'm a casual person who casually wants a cute cup for the holidays, just an accessory for this holiday season. Like, that's fine. But I'm saying for the people who are chronically acting on micro trends, you feel like you're trapped in this cycle. Just try to tackle the issues that make you susceptible to being impressed by these things. I know that, for instance, debt and depression can be a big thing of it. And the reason I call it out as a problem is because, again, this is changing your behavior. You're picking fights with people, you're arguing with employees, you are camping outside for this. It's not even a Black Friday type of thing. Like, I understand camping out for a Black Friday, but even that to me is a little extreme. You are moody, you're temperamental, you feel entitled just because you served your time waiting outside in the elements or wherever you were. I think that is bad. That is a problem. And that's why I have to describe this as an issue. That is not behavior that normal, regular people would indulge in. Like, why would you allow for a limited edition item to create this fear of you missing out, as they call it, to the point that it alters your behavior from, I guess, rational ish to becoming irrational, irate? You indulge in dangerous behavior. Again, picking fights, arguments with people, destroying store displays, catching misdemeanors and felonies and all that in the process. That is not normal. Try to figure out what the root of this problem is. And that's why I call it a problem. To me, superficially picking on this, I really think that it's a lot of people who are hopeless in their day to day. They need something to fill the void. And what better thing to fill the void than indulging in your instinct of being a hunter, and you hunt this down, and once you have it, you get that high of, I did it, I competed against a bunch of people who also wanted this thing, but I made it, therefore celebration dance. Anyways, you guys, I thought I would ramble about this because it triggered that series of thoughts. It's not really something that I address here. I'm never really discussing people going crazy over dumbass trends. But since evaluating this one triggered those thoughts that I don't think I had had before nor shared them, I thought I would share them and hear what you guys have to say. Because I feel like most of you who hang out with me here, you tend to agree mostly when it comes to stuff like this. And I'm curious about what led to you concluding that. I think that those of you who hang out with me, you have values that are, what can I say, fancier than this. I think your values are not really measured financially. They're measured more on a psychological realm. But I could be wrong. Maybe I'll learn something about you guys. Maybe one of you guys actually wanted one of these too, but I doubt it. That's it for me. Bye. Okay. Recording on this chair was like the worst thing ever because I kept gradually like turning and turning and turning to find comfort. But I'm glad to be on my chair for a video. I think it's been like 8 days since I sat on this chair to make a video. I want some normalcy.